Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is the Chronicles of Apple from the apple of my eye, and I promise myself and the Lord that I am gonna do this video. So, about maybe a week ago, um, it could have been although it may be less than a week. I had a dream, and this is after the 6th, either the 7th or the 8th. I had a dream that at a I was looking through a cave that has a really wide opening, like a big crack, on the side of the mountain. But it was a cave and there were people there. I wasn't necessarily paying attention to them. I was focusing on the horizon in front of me, and we are definitely in a very, very high elevation. So in this elevation, you could actually see how the birds are flying and they are at our level. And it seems like we were there to observe, kind of like if you go on a hike and you paid for some kind of a trip somewhere, and it was a mountain range is what we were looking at, and it was sort of dust. So if you were to look at the sky, it's a little bit brighter than this, but it's definitely not dark, and it's definitely not it's not high noon. And then the people there, I don't really have recognition of them. I just know I'm with some people, and some of them were talking. And then in front of us, there was this formation of eagles. And there were 4 eagles that sort of flew side by side of each other. And somebody said, that's a sign. That's a sign. And I'm like, I don't really know it is kind of odd. Seeing 4 eagles hover alongside each other is not common. To see one it will be unusual, but to have them in a formation like that, it was quite baffling. The next thing I know, the scene changed, and it was like a flash of light, and then there was like this kind of ray coming out to the sides, and at the very center of that was the appearance of Jesus Christ with the arms out, like one of those, is it in Brazil, or one of the kind of like a Jesus statue appeared in front of us all of a sudden. And my heart just stopped. I'm thinking like, okay, what's going on? Is this the rapture? And I was looking at it, and it's like this gray appearance of what appears to be Jesus Christ. And I started repenting from my sin, because it's like, any possible sin, just purging it out. And it was it appears right in front of us. It wasn't like it came down, it just appeared right in front of us, and it was the focal point of that horizon. And it seems like everybody could see him. That's just what I was sensing. Every one of us can see how this has Christ in the center of the horizon, and the view of the mountain behind him sort of disappeared, because we're just looking at the image of Christ in the center of all of us. And I feel like people are one by one disappearing on the right side of me, and it was like going in succession, that people are disappearing. But it's not like I was staring at them. I just have this perception. And then I feel like it was going to come down to me. But when I looked at the image, there was at the hemline, it wasn't like it appears sort of like like a statue, but the hemline of that image had a serial number, and it was blinking red lights, and I was trying to discern what the numbers would say. And And as I looked at it, the moment I noticed it, the image of Christ started to spin really fast. And it went in a counterclockwise direction. And I'm like, oh, everybody's getting picked up. Everybody's getting picked up. And I'm like, but then the light, as it turns, it will on and off appear before me. And it would spinning this way really, really fast. And when it turns a certain way, I would sense that there's like that blinking light at the hemline. And it wasn't like he was wearing, it wasn't like a garment per se. It was more just kind of like, a sort of opaque, gray, but a little bit luminescent. That's what, I was looking at. So this is going really fast, by the way. And I was kind of like, I'm in the middle of trying to repenting of my sin. But why am I noticing this light? I don't know what it means. The red blinking light. So then, the next thing I know, it was over. And I was on the floor. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, I am left. What am I doing here still? Everybody should go, And so then I woke up and I'm like, I don't know what to do about this. Now, a few days on the 6th of May, I came across a YouTube video. And in that YouTube video was a story. And I think it was like Holy Beats or something. There was a story about a man who was very, 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 very faithful. And the daughter said, I have to make sure that I make this video and let everybody know that the message that my father have after a near-death experience. And I wasn't so focused on this because half the time I'm kind of like, okay, well, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not sure. Okay, so somebody had a near-death experience and this man survived. And the message was boiled down to that on May 6th, that there's like an open invitation that God wanted us to, anybody that sees this video would ask the Lord for whatever they need, like petitioning, and God is going to answer it. And I'm kind of like, well, as long as we're alive, we can ask the Lord. We can pray while we're alive, so I don't really see how a particular date would change that ruling. But in my mind, I'm like, well, then I'm going to pray. I could pray for this, my knee, my tooth, I just got sick that, quite recently. So I think it was a Thursday. And I was thinking, oh, well, I got sick on a Tuesday. Wait, hold on. I was really sick by Tuesday, but I felt better as well. And I was telling myself, okay, I wanted to, I'm going to ask the Lord to extend this open invitation to petition prayers for an extended period of time. That was my prayer. Because I could petition for all these things that I think I need, whether it's physical, spiritual, or, petitioning for other people. But I'm like, what if I forget a very important prayer request and it's past the 6th? So I said, well, then my prayer would be to extend it. And in a few days, I don't know if the next night or the one after that was when I had this dream. And I didn't want to tell people right away about it because I've never had a rapture dream. Nothing close to this has ever been in my dream. And usually I forget my dream. It will be some wacky story that I can't even remember. However, this particular dream sort of just became even more vivid as the day went. And I'm like, I wanted to pray with somebody first before I make any kind of video or before I really flush it out. Like I wanted to pray with somebody. So then, so like I said, that Tuesday I was sick. but I started to feel better as well. And I felt like I need to get back to work. And I was praying for a miracle that I can get back to work, because we have a Special Olympics, and I'm responsible to put the the applique for the t-shirts, and I didn't know how to use the Cricut so well, but I think we can accomplish this. And if I wasn't to come on a Wednesday and a Thursday, it would be a problem, getting the shirts done. So I was determined to get the shirts done before the Special Olympics. And I did feel better. And in a day or two, I had this dream of rapture. And so I want people to just take it with a grain of salt and pray about it. Because I initially didn't really want to talk about it too much, because I'm like, well, I'm going to tell people there's a rapture. I had a dream of a rapture and I got left behind. But I'm like, what am I ashamed of? I'm like, okay, then maybe what I need to do is keep petitioning that the Lord takes me. I don't want to be left behind. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad that, maybe, that's what I need to focus on, is that I pray that I will not be left behind. And maybe that's the meaning of this dream. So then I talked to a friend of mine who is disabled, and she is a prayer warrior. And I finally told her this dream. And it was, of course, Mother's Day. And I told her, I said, listen, I am really bothered by this particular dream. I'm not really resentful of it. And I know that I just feel like I need to pray that the Lord takes me, and not leave me here if there is a rapture to come in my lifetime. Then, so when I was talking to her about it, she says, well, it doesn't make sense, because why would there be a blinking light? And was that supposed to be? And I said, yeah, and it dawned on me, it really looked like a statue. He was not, the elbow wasn't moving, the facial expression doesn't change. It was pretty much a static figure. And I said, yeah, and in the Bible, I recalled, I was like, okay, before the time Jesus comes, it will be very dark. And I said, the fact that I could see the eagles, the 4 eagles information, indicates to me that it was bright. It was lighter. It was lighter than this. So in that case, it doesn't seem to fit the biblical coming of Christ. And then he can't possibly show up just at the center without having the woolen hair. And the hair wasn't woolen. It was the resurrection picture of Christ that I think, is it Brazil? Anyway, I gotta look that up. And then, so yesterday, I decided, okay, I need to get on the Zoom call, and I got to ask the pastor about this dream, and I need to make a point of this towards the end of the sermon. And so at the end of the sermon, I had asked, I had made a request to that the pastor to hear my dream, and I need to gain some understanding what this could mean. So anyhow, the pastor last night, pretty much, after I said the story, okay, I told him, okay, like, I had this dream. I was at the top, like, I was in a high mountain overlooking through a cave, and this, and the center of that, after the 4 eagles appeared, there was a flashing light, and it was like so much energy. And, but that's very center was Christ, and everybody could see him. But then I noticed this, blinking light at the bottom of the hemline. It's not really like, it's not like I'm looking at clothes, but if you look at an image and somebody, like whether it's wood or, but it's got that grayish appearance, and like kind of a luminescent, but not like a person. And he said that, well, if you look, so I explained that I was seeing this light, and it's like I got left. I got left after this entire ordeal. And I was really worried about this. But I'm not angry at the Lord, but I was very confused. That's what it left me with. And he said that it reminded him, well, first of all, his wife said that it doesn't add up, because I'm a Christian, and if you're a Christian, you will be raptured. And I said, yeah, well, but this one, you weren't raptured in that dream. And I said, no, I was on the floor, like in grief. And I was wondering, what happened. And so the pastor said, well, it reminded him of the concept of idolatry, that if you look at a statue and, at the bottom of like a mannequin or whatever it is, of a doll, the on the bottom is the number, a serial code. And he said that with the technology of AI on board, people could do anything in terms of perhaps faking a presentation of a rapture. And I'm like, yeah, it could be. But so now, anyway, I just want people to pray about it, because while we're still alive and there's not yet a rapture, not even a fake one, there is a strong possibility that in the dream came about because in my lifetime and in our lifetimes, there is going to be a presentation, and perhaps there is a reason that people would have to go up to the mountain. Now, again, this is a dream, and we need to base everything on the Bible and not just on our own personal dream. But I'm bringing this, to the table and in the video so that other people can glean from it. But I definitely want to just put more emphasis in reading the Bible and studying the book of Revelation. So thank you, and God bless.